Filing for Criminal Expungement, Chapter 1, Introduction and Preparation. In this video, you will learn how to use this series of videos to help you complete the process of criminal expungement, and you will gather the forms and information you will need to begin the process. This criminal expungement video series consists of 16 chapters, each within a separate video, so you can easily jump to and review any step in the process. Follow along with the videos as you complete each step. If you see an alert like this one, pause the video to complete the step. You can use the buttons at the bottom of your screen to pause and play the video. In the Filing for Criminal Expungement series of videos, you will learn procedures to file for criminal expungement, including how to fill out the necessary forms correctly, how to get a hearing date, and tips and instructions on proper service of the forms. Be aware, the process of criminal expungement takes at least 4 to 5 months. It is important to remember that Self-Help Center staff cannot give you legal advice about your case. Before you start this process, review the information about criminal expungement on the Minnesota Judicial Branch website. Go to www.mncourts.gov, click on Help Topics, and then click on Criminal Expungement. This information will explain Minnesota law regarding criminal expungement and what kinds of cases can be expunged. You will need 3 things to get started with the criminal expungement process: the criminal expungement forms, information from your criminal case records, and a case printout called the Register of Actions, or ROA, for each case you are asking to expunge. First, let's get the criminal expungement forms. These forms are available on the Minnesota Judicial Branch website. Go to www.mncourts.gov and click on Get Forms at the top of the screen. Select Criminal Expungement from the list of forms categories, and then click on the packet for expungement sealing of a criminal record. You will need all of these forms listed in the packet. You may wish to review the instructions here. You can also get the forms by going to your local courthouse. Start with the Notice of Hearing and Petition for Expungement. This form has EXP 102 listed as the form number on the bottom left-hand corner. You will also need a proposed order. There are 3 different versions of this form: EXP 105, EXP 106, and EXP 107. You will only need one proposed order for each case, but which order you need to fill out depends on what type of case it is. We will address the differences between these proposed orders in Chapter 7. You will also need the proof of service, EXP 104. You must fill out one set of forms for each case you are trying to expunge. So, if, for example, you want to expunge 5 cases, you will need 5 sets of the forms listed on the screen. Next, you will need information about your criminal case records. This includes cases from other states, countries, and it includes federal cases. You must get your criminal case records for all of your cases, even if you are not asking for a particular case to be expunged. You may still need information from the cases you are not asking to expunge to fill out the paperwork. Finally, you will need a case printout, called the Register of Actions, or ROA, for each case you are asking to expunge. To get the ROA, as well as information about other Minnesota criminal case records, you will need to go to a Minnesota courthouse. Although some information is available on the Internet through the Minnesota Judicial Branch website, the record is not complete and should not be relied upon when filling out criminal expungement forms. At the courthouse, ask court staff if there is a public records computer where you can print off a list of all your criminal case records in Minnesota, as well as ROAs for each case that you want to expunge. There may be a charge for these printouts. The ROA includes details you will need to complete your criminal expungement forms. Even if you are not asking for a particular case to be expunged, you may still need information about that case to fill out the paperwork. If you have cases in other states, countries, or in federal court, you will need to find details about each of those cases, including what the criminal charge was, if there was a conviction, and the date of the conviction or other final disposition. If you do not know these details, you may need to contact the court where it happened. Minnesota court staff cannot provide you with this information. In the next several chapters, you will learn how to fill out each criminal expungement form, the notice of hearing and petition for expungement, proposed order, and proof of service. Chapter 2 will address the caption and questions 1 through 5 of the notice of hearing and petition for expungement. Chapter 2, starting the petition, caption, and questions 1 through 5. In this chapter, you will begin filling out the caption and questions 1 through 5 of the Notice of Hearing and Petition for Expungement. We will refer to this form as the petition. First, you'll fill out the caption on page 1 of the petition. The caption is the top half of the first page of every court form and lists the names of the parties, court file number, and other information. Make sure to type or write your information neatly on your form in the spaces provided. In the box labeled County, write or select the name of the county where your case happened. You must file your paperwork in the county where the criminal case happened. For example, if the criminal case happened in Anoka County, fill in Anoka. If you are filing criminal expungement paperwork in more than one county, do not fill this box in at this time. Next, fill in which judicial district your county is in. In our example, Anoka County is in the 10th Judicial District. If you don't know the judicial district, you can go to www.mncourts.gov. Click on Find Courts and pick your county out from the map or from the drop-down menu to find that information. If you are filing in more than one county, leave this blank for now. The court file number can be found on the top of your Register of Actions, where it says Case Number. If you are asking to expunge more than one case, do not fill in the court file number at this time. The case type, Criminal, is already filled in for you. Below these boxes, you will see State of Minnesota listed as the plaintiff. List your full name, including your middle name, on the line below labeled Defendant/Petitioner. The next section of page 1 is labeled Notice of Hearing and has space for you to include information about the date and time of your court hearing and the address of the courthouse. Skip this paragraph for now. We will talk about scheduling your court date when we are done with the petition. Next is question number 1. This is a statement about what you are asking the court to do. You do not need to do anything here. For question number 2, list all of the names you have ever been known by. Start with your current legal name, including your first, middle, and last name. Add any other legal names you may have used, such as a maiden name, other married name, and any aliases. If you are a senior or a junior, include that information. For question number 3, fill in your date of birth. For question number 4, you need to list all addresses you have lived at since the date of the oldest case you are asking to expunge. For example, if you are asking to expunge a case filed in November of 1997, and that is your oldest case, you will need to list all addresses you have lived at since November of 1997. Whenever possible, include the full address with the house or building number, street name, city, and state. If you do not remember part of an address, look through your records to try to find the information. If you cannot find it, write down as much as you do remember. For example, you might remember that you lived on Main Street in Mankato, Minnesota, but not the house number. It is important that you also include any addresses you lived at that were outside of Minnesota. You can attach extra pages if necessary to list all of your addresses. If you need to attach extra pages for this answer, write "See attachment" on the lines provided for question number 4 to let the judge know that you included more information on another page. Label each extra page attachment number 4. Question number 5 asks why you want an expungement. This question is very important. When you ask for an expungement, the judge must decide whether the benefit to you in having the case expunged is greater than the interests of the public and public safety. The judge doesn't know how the expungement will help you unless you tell them. You should explain all of the reasons you need an expungement in your forms. The judge will read your answer carefully. Any information you want the judge to know should be included in your answer. Ask yourself this question. How do your criminal cases cause problems for you today? Most people try to get an expungement because they lost or were turned down for a job, want to apply for a promotion, were turned down for housing, or are applying for a job-related license. If any of that has happened to you, talk about it. Include where you applied for work or housing, the name of the employer or landlord, the approximate date you applied, and the reason you were given for being turned down, let go, etc. If it has happened more than once, briefly explain what happened each time. If there are other ways your criminal record causes you problems, explain those. The reasons don't have to be related to a job or housing. You should also explain how you think your life will be better if you get an expungement. What improvements will you see? If you have minor children or elderly parents to support, will an expungement benefit your family? If so, how? There is not one right answer to this question. The sample is to give you an idea of what you should think about when answering. On the screen is an example answer that you can review and use to get started. You can attach extra pages as necessary, so the judge has all of the reasons why you need an expungement. If you do attach extra pages for this answer, make sure to write "See attachment" on the lines provided for question number 5. This helps the judge know that you included more information on another page. Label each extra page attachment number 5. Because question number 5 is so important, you might want to ask someone else to read your answer and tell you if your reasons are clear and persuasive. In Chapter 3, you will continue filling out the petition, completing questions 6, 7, 8, and 13. Chapter 3, questions 6, 7, 8, and 13. In this chapter, you will fill out questions 6, 7, 8, and 13 from the petition. We will continue filling out the petition, starting with question number 6. In question 6, you will list all your criminal cases, including cases from other states, countries, or from federal court. You must list each criminal charge against you for a misdemeanor, gross misdemeanor, or felony. A petty misdemeanor is not a crime, so you are not required to list those cases. However, you are encouraged to list cases that are the same or similar to those you are asking to expunge. For example, if you are asking to expunge a petty misdemeanor theft, you should list that charge and include any other petty misdemeanor thefts. Be aware that some traffic and driving offenses can be misdemeanors or higher. Make sure to list all of your criminal cases, even if you weren't convicted. This includes closed and pending cases. A pending case is one where there is a charge, but no final outcome yet. List each case one at a time. Use the printouts of your criminal case records to find and fill in the information for each case. Starting with the case number. Next, fill in the county and state where the case happened. For example, Anoka, Minnesota. Then, list the type of charge. The type of charge is what kind of crime it was, like theft, driving after revocation, assault, etc. In most cases, you do not need to fill in all of the words from the type of charge. For example, if the charge is theft under $500, you can just list that as theft. Next, fill in the date of the offense. Then you will fill in the conviction yes or no field. Fill in why if you were convicted, pleaded guilty, or were found guilty, no matter what the final outcome was. Only fill in N if you were not convicted or you did not plead guilty and you were not found guilty. Finally, if yes, you will need to fill in a date. There is only enough space on the form to list 6 cases. If you have more than 6 cases, you will need to attach an extra page with the remaining cases. Label the extra page attachment number 6 at the top, and remember to fill in See Attachment somewhere near question 6. You may have trouble finding the information on the printouts or not be sure if you are looking at the correct information. For questions about Minnesota cases, you can contact the court in the county where the case happened, or the statewide self-help center, whose contact information will be listed at the end of this video series. If you have a printout from another state, different country, or federal court, you may need to call them for help. Remember that it's very important to list all of your cases for question number 6. When you sign your petition, you are doing so under penalty of perjury that it is true and complete. If the judge finds a case that you didn't list, it may affect what they decide about your request for expungement. Question number 7 is a statement to the court that you listed all of your criminal records in your response to question number 6. A response is not required for this question, other than making sure you listed all of your criminal records. In question number 8, you must tell the court about other expungement or pardon requests that you have made on any cases. If you have ever requested expungement or asked for a pardon, include information about any and all requests. Do not include court file numbers or other specific details about the case if the request was granted. Instead, write something general like what is shown in this example. Make sure to include whether the judge or board of pardons granted or denied your request. Include any other information you want the judge to know. If you've never asked for an expungement or pardon, fill in none. For now, we will skip questions 9 through 12 and go on to question 13. Question number 13 asks you to explain how you have rehabilitated yourself since the case happened. This is a very important question. You have to explain how you have rehabilitated yourself since this case happened. In other words, you need to tell the judge how you have changed your life. Your answer to question number 13 is your opportunity to tell the court what was happening in your life at the time, and, more importantly, what you have done since that time to improve your life. You need to tell the court how you have changed and how this change will keep you from committing crimes in the future. Include any job training, education, and employment opportunities you have had since the case happened. If you have learned a trade, attended school, received certificates and/or degrees, tell the court the details about those experiences. If you are a volunteer in your community, include that information. If drugs or alcohol were a factor in your criminal cases, and you don't use drugs or alcohol now, tell the court about your treatment and explain what you do to stay sober. If your crime happened when you were making bad choices because of your friends or other influences, tell the court how you removed yourself from those influences and what you do differently now. The passing of time without another crime is another way to show that you have changed. This is your opportunity to tell the judge anything positive that you have done in your life since the case happened. There is not one right answer to this question. The sample is to give you an idea of what you should think about when answering. Pause the video if needed to review this sample. Make sure to spend time working on your response to question number 13. You should now be finished with questions number 1 through 8 and 13 of the petition. In the next chapter, you will complete questions number 14, 15, and 16 of the petition. Chapter 4. Questions number 14, 15, and 16. In this chapter, you will fill out questions 14, 15, and 16 of the petition. For question 14, check this box to indicate whether you'd like information submitted by certain parties to be kept confidential. After you complete your paperwork, you will need to send copies of it to agencies that may have records of the case. This will be explained in more detail in Chapter 9. These agencies may write to the court to explain their legal position to your expungement request and why. If they write to the court, you will receive a copy of the documents they send. These documents may include specific details about your case, such as what you were charged with. You can ask the court to keep the case information included in these documents confidential by checking the box for question number 14. This question is optional. You can choose to check the box or leave it blank. Check the box next to question number 15 if you would like to be notified that other agencies, not the court, have sealed your record if the judge grants your request. You are asking that the agencies send you a letter telling you that your record has been expunged. This question is also optional. The last question to complete on the petition is question number 16. This asks if there is any other information about the case that might help the judge understand your situation. It is your opportunity to explain why it happened or what led to it happening if you think that that would be helpful for the judge to know. The question is not asking you to re-argue your case, but it is a chance to include any reasons about how you found yourself in that situation. It is a good opportunity to let the judge know about what you learned from the case. You should also discuss why you are not a risk to society or individuals. Here is an example to use to get started. Pause the video if needed to review this sample. Like question numbers 5 and 13, you may want to put your answer to question number 16 on a separate sheet of paper. If you attach a separate page, make sure to fill in See Attachment near question 16 and label the extra page Attachment number 16. You should now be finished with questions number 1 through 8 and 13 through 16 of the petition. In the next chapter, we will discuss how to expunge more than one case. If you are only asking to expunge one case, you can skip Chapter 5 and go on to Chapter 6. Chapter 5. Requesting expungement of multiple cases. In this chapter, you will learn the steps for requesting the expungement of more than one case at a time. If you only wish to expunge a single case, jump to Chapter 6. The answers to the questions you completed in Chapters 2 through 4 will be the same for all your cases. However, the remaining questions will be different for each case. You will need a separate petition for each case you wish to expunge. Before continuing with this video, make a copy of the petition for each additional case you wish to expunge. Once you have a copy of the petition for each case you want to expunge, you need to go back and fill in the rest of the caption on each copy. First, fill in the county and judicial district. You should also fill in the court file number. This number can be found at the top of the register of actions for each case. Go back to Chapter 2 for more information. When you have filled in the county, judicial district, and court file number for each case you are asking to expunge, go on to Chapter 6. In Chapter 6, you will complete question 9 of the petition. Chapter 6, question number 9. In this chapter, you will answer question number 9 of the petition. Question number 9 asks you to provide the legal basis under which you believe each case qualifies for an expungement. Note that the following are general guidelines only. If you're not sure how or if your case qualifies and don't know what box to check, you should get legal advice. You can find lawyer locator resources and information on free legal advice clinics by going to the web address listed on the screen. Question 9 has 8 possible options for you to select. The box you check will depend on the details of each particular case. Let's take a look at each option. Were you charged with drug possession and was your case dismissed and discharged? If yes, check the first box. Did you commit a crime when you were under age 18 but you were prosecuted as an adult? And did you plead guilty or were you found guilty at trial? If yes, check the second box. Was the case resolved in your favor? This means you were not convicted, were not found guilty, and did not plead guilty in the case. If the case was resolved in your favor, check the third box. Did you complete a diversion program or receive a stay of adjudication? Were you not charged with a new crime for at least 1 year since completion of the diversion program or stay of adjudication? If you answer yes to each of these questions, check the fourth box. Were you convicted of a petty misdemeanor or a misdemeanor and not convicted of a new crime for at least 2 years since the discharge date? If yes, check the fifth box. The discharge date is 6 months after the end of your probation or the date the judge issued an order discharging you from probation. The date should be listed on your Register of Actions. Were you convicted of a gross misdemeanor and not convicted of a new crime for at least 4 years since the discharge date? If yes, check the sixth box. Were you convicted of a certain kind of felony listed in the Minnesota Expungement statute and not convicted of a new crime for at least 5 years since the discharge date? If yes, check the seventh box. This box can only be checked if the felony is specifically listed in the Minnesota Expungement law. The list of felonies can be found by going to the Minnesota Judicial Branch website. Go to www.mncourts.gov, click on Help Topics, then on Criminal Expungement, and go to the tab labeled Rules and Laws. That tab includes a link to Minnesota Statutes Section 609A. Statute 609A.02 Subdivision 3 lists all of the included felonies. If your case does not fall under any of the other categories, check the eighth box. In the next chapter, we will complete the rest of the petition. Chapter 7. Finishing the petition. In this chapter, you will complete the rest of the petition. This includes completing questions 10 through 12 and the signature, and attaching supporting documents. Question number 10 of the petition asks for details about the case you are asking to expunge. The information needed for these blanks can be found on the Register of Actions for the case. Start by filling in the case number. The case number and the court file number are the same. This should match the number you wrote on the caption of the petition. Next, fill in the city where the offense happened. This is not the same as the county. If you do not remember the city where the offense happened, you may need to contact the court in the county where your case is filed. Or, if you have a copy of your record from the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, or BCA, you may be able to find that information on that record. Next, fill in the type of offense and date of the offense. Then, check either the conviction or dismissal box, and fill in the date of the conviction or dismissal. Next, enter the date of discharge. The discharge date is 6 months after the end of your probation or the date the judge issued an order discharging you from probation. Question number 11 asks you to name the victim or victims of the crime. For example, if the case involved theft from a store, you would list the name of the store as the victim. Or, if the case involved an assault, you would list the name of the person as the victim. You should identify the victim even if you were not convicted or the case was dismissed. If you do not remember the name of the victim, write in something like, "I do not remember." Some crimes do not have an identifiable victim. For example, drug possession and driving after revocation do not have a victim who can be named. If there is no victim, check the box for "There were no identifiable victims." Question number 12 asks if there are or have ever been any court orders telling you not to contact the victim of the crime. This includes a no-contact order through the criminal case, including geographic restrictions such as not being allowed to enter a certain business. This also includes an order for protection or harassment restraining order. You must check one box to say that either there is or is not any such court order prohibiting contact. If there is an order now or was in the past, check the box stating there is a current or prior order and make sure to attach copies of any orders to your petition. If you do not have copies, you can get them from the court in the county where the case is filed. You do not need to get certified copies. Plain copies are fine. Be aware that there is a fee to get copies of these orders. If there is not or was not a current or prior order, check the box indicating there is not a current or prior order. You've already filled in the next 3 questions. Move to the bottom of page 4, which includes a place for you to sign the petition and fill in your contact information. You should date and sign each petition. Your signature does not need to be notarized. Be sure to also fill in your name, address, and phone number under your signature. You will also need to fill in the county and state where you signed the petition. For example, Anoka County, Minnesota. If you have letters or other documents supporting what you wrote in any of your answers and you want the judge to see those, you can attach those to your petition. You may also attach letters of reference from teachers, counselors, employers, or religious leaders that you want the judge to see. These letters should be from people who know you and who can explain your current successes. If you have more than one case and need time to finish filling out the information on each petition, re-watch this and the previous chapters. We encourage you to complete the petition for each case before you go on to Chapter 8. In Chapter 8, you will fill out the proposed order. Chapter 8. Filling out the proposed order. In this chapter, you will select which proposed order needs to be used for each petition and fill out the proposed order. There are 3 different proposed orders: EXP 105, EXP 106, and EXP 107. You only need one proposed order for each petition. To figure out which proposed order you need for each case, look at question 9 on the petition. Which item did you check? After each option, the proposed order form you need to use is indicated. For example, if you checked the 3rd option for question number 9 because the case was resolved in your favor, you should use EXP 105, Order Concerning Sealing/Expunging Records. To complete each proposed order, fill out the county, judicial district, and court file number on the top of page 1, exactly like you did on the petition. Be sure to also fill in your name and date of birth. You do not need to fill out anything else on the proposed order. If you have more than one case, we encourage you to complete a proposed order for each case before moving on to the next chapter. In Chapter 9, you will begin filling out the proof of service. Chapter 9. Filling out the proof of service. In this chapter, you will begin filling out the proof of service form. The proof of service is used to show the court who you sent your expungement paperwork to. It must list the names and addresses for each agency that you will serve as part of the expungement process. These may include the Police Department, the Prosecutor, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, or BCA, as well as various other agencies such as County Probation. All of these agencies have a right to object if they do not think something should be expunged. You need one proof of service for each case you are asking to expunge. For each proof of service, complete the caption exactly the same as you did on your petition and proposed order by filling in the county, judicial district number, court file number, and your full name. Case type is already filled in for you. For now, skip over the paragraph that starts with I, as well as the blank line for county where proof of service is signed. You will return to these parts later. Now, let's look at the address information listed on the bottom of page 1. The addresses for the BCA, Minnesota Attorney General, and Minnesota Department of Corrections, boxes 1 through 3, are already filled in for you. For boxes number 5 and number 6, County Department of Corrections or Probation, and County Sheriff's Office, you will need to fill in the county where your case happened on the blank line. For example, if your case is in Anoka County, it should read Anoka County Department of Corrections and Anoka County Sheriff's Office. If you are asking the court to order the police department to expunge your record, check box 7 and then fill in the name of the city where the crime happened on the blank in front of Police Department. For example, Blaine Police Department. Do not fill in the name of the county. If you are asking the court to order the Minnesota Department of Human Services, Minnesota Department of Health, and/or Minnesota Department of Natural Resources to expunge your record, you should check the box next to the name of the appropriate agency or agencies. If you are trying to get a certain kind of state license, you may need to ask to have these records expunged. For example, if you have been denied a personal care attendant or PCA license by the Minnesota Department of Human Services, you may need to ask them to seal their records. If you are unsure if you want to ask these agencies to seal their records, you should get legal advice. Let's look at page 2 of the proof of service. For box 4, County Attorney's Office, you will need to fill in the county where your case happened on the blank line like you did for boxes 5 and 6. Again, in our example, our case happened in Anoka County, so it should read Anoka County Attorney's Office. If you are asking the court to order the City Attorney's Office to expunge your record, check box 8 and fill in the name of the city that prosecuted the crime on the blank in front of City Attorney's Office. Usually, this is the same as box 7. If you are asking the Minnesota Department of Public Safety to expunge your record, you should check the box for number 12 and write in the word expungement on the blank line. If you were arrested or cited by the State Highway Patrol, Park Police, Metropolitan Airport Commission, University of Minnesota Police, City Inspection Division, or another law enforcement agency besides City Police Department or County Sheriff, and you are asking the court to order them to expunge your record, check the box for number 13 and list the name and address of that law enforcement agency on the lines. There may be other agencies you want to include, like the Board of Nursing, the Department of Education, etc. If so, you would check the box and list them on the blank lines for numbers 13, 14, and 15 as needed. If you are unsure what other agencies you may want to ask to seal their records, you should get legal advice. For boxes 4 through 8, as well as any other boxes you checked, you also need to fill in a complete mailing address for each of those agencies. You can find these addresses in a telephone book, on the internet, or by calling the agency directly. In Chapter 10, you will learn about scheduling your hearing. Chapter 10. Scheduling your hearing. In this chapter, you will learn how to schedule your hearing. Once you've completed the forms as described in Chapters 2 through 9, you are ready to schedule your hearing. To get your hearing date, time, and location, contact the court in the county where the case happened. You can do this by phone or in person. You can find contact information for all county courts in Minnesota by going to the web address listed on the screen. When you contact the court, make sure you explain how many petitions you are filing, or, in other words, how many cases you are asking to expunge in that county. If you have cases in more than one county, you may have hearings at different times and places. Some counties will schedule all your cases filed in that county for the same date and time. Other counties may schedule a separate hearing for each case. Sometimes the court will not require you to show up at a hearing, but you still need to schedule a date. This is for purposes of service, which you'll learn more about in Chapter 12, and so that the court can review the case on that date. The date of your hearing must be at least 63 days from now. This is because Minnesota law requires that the other parties have 60 days to respond to your request for expungement, and 3 days are added for mailing time. However, you may need a few extra days to make copies. Make sure to schedule your hearing out far enough to give you plenty of time. If you don't get your forms mailed out at least 63 days before your hearing date, your hearing may be canceled or your request for expungement may be denied. Once you have your hearing date, go back to page 1 of the petition and fill in the Notice of Hearing section. List the hearing date, be sure to include the month, day, and year, and list the time, including AM or PM. For the location, list the address of the courthouse where your hearing will take place. Do this for each case you are asking to expunge. If you have more than one case, make sure you have scheduled all of your hearings and listed the correct date, time, and location information on the first page of each petition. Once all your hearings are scheduled and the information has been filled in on the petitions, continue with Chapter 11. In Chapter 11, you will make copies of the petitions and proposed orders. Chapter 11. Making copies of your petition and proposed order. In this chapter, you will make the necessary copies of your petition and proposed order to mail to the agencies who will be served. Once your hearing is scheduled and the forms are complete, it's time to make copies of the petition and proposed order so that they can be mailed out to the agencies you need to serve. Do not make a copy of the proof of service form at this time. Make sure that your original petition for each case is completely filled out, including the hearing information, and signed, and that the caption of each proposed order is completed as explained in Chapter 8. If you have more than one case you are asking to expunge, select one case to work on now. You may want to review this chapter to complete each case. To figure out how many copies you need, look at the proof of service form you filled out for that case. The names and addresses on the proof of service are your mailing list. You need one copy for each agency you checked on the form, plus one copy for you. For example, if you have checked off 8 agencies on your proof of service form, you will need 9 copies. Do not count your original as a copy. The original will get filed with the court as explained later in Chapter 14. If you have more than one case, do the same thing for each case. Count the number of agencies checked on the proof of service. Make that number of copies plus one more copy for you. Remember that you need a copy of the petition, including any attachments, and the proposed order. Do not make a copy of the proof of service form at this time. The easiest way to copy your paperwork is to use a copy machine that can make double-sided copies, which reduces how much you will need to spend on postage. For a fee, you can also give your originals to a copy shop and ask them to do the copying, sorting, and stapling for you. Make sure to keep the copies for each case separate and to keep the originals in a safe place. As explained, you will need to file the originals with the court later. You are now ready to prepare your forms to be served. You will learn about this in Chapter 12. Chapter 12. Preparing for Service. In this chapter, you will get the copies of your forms ready to be served. Service is the legal way of giving notice to the other parties involved in the case. Your expungement forms can be served by regular U.S. mail. They should not be sent by certified mail. If you have more than one case, pick a case to work on now. Look at the proof of service form for the case. Use this as your mailing list. Each agency that you checked will be served with copies of your forms. You will need one copy for each agency checked on the proof of service. Address one envelope to each of the agencies. Use the names and addresses listed on the proof of service. Don't forget to write your name and return address on all the envelopes. Before putting the paperwork in the envelope, check these three things. Do the court file numbers match? The court file number on the petition, proposed order, and proof of service must all be the same. Is the hearing date at least 63 days from now? Look at page 1 of the petition. Count the days on a calendar, including weekends, starting with the day after you plan to have the envelopes mailed. If your hearing is in less than 63 days, you will need to contact the court and get a new hearing date. Remember that if your paperwork is not mailed at least 63 days before the hearing, your hearing may be canceled or your request for an expungement may be denied. Do you have your original paperwork? Do not mail your original paperwork. The originals must be filed with the court later. If you find that you made a mistake, you can use whiteout to change the court file numbers or hearing date and time. Remember to do this on your original petition and every copy. In each envelope, you will need to include one copy of the petition, including any attachments, and one copy of the proposed order. Put your paperwork in the envelopes and seal them. Make sure that you have an envelope for each of the agencies. After you have included copies of your paperwork in each envelope, you should have one set of copies left. This set is for you to keep. You should bring these with you to your court hearing. In the meantime, keep them in a safe place. If you have more than one case, repeat the process described in this chapter for each case. Once your envelopes are ready, add the necessary amount of postage. It is best to take the envelopes to a post office to be weighed so that you know exactly how much postage is needed for each envelope. Keep in mind that if an envelope is returned to you because of not enough postage, you may have to reschedule your hearing date. You are now ready to have your forms mailed. In Chapter 13, you will learn about how to properly serve your expungement paperwork and finish filling out the proof of service. Chapter 13. Service and finishing the proof of service. In this chapter, you will learn how to properly serve your expungement paperwork and finish filling out the proof of service. Your paperwork should now be ready to be served. In some situations, paperwork must be served by a neutral third party and cannot be mailed. However, for criminal expungement, you can mail the paperwork to the other parties yourself. To serve the paperwork by mail, put your completed envelopes in the mail by your deadline. If you have questions about what should be included in the envelopes or your mailing deadline, review Chapter 12. After the envelopes have been mailed, finish filling out the proof of service. On the blank line after where it says County of, fill in the name of the county where you are when you sign the proof of service. This may be different than the county where your case happened. That is okay. Fill in your full name here, then fill in the date you put the envelopes in the mail and the name of the city where you mailed the envelopes from. Finally, sign and date the proof of service on page 2. Your signature does not need to be notarized. Make sure you also include your name, address, and telephone number. It is a good idea to make a copy of the proof of service for you to keep for your records. That way, if there are any questions about service, you will have a record of what was done. If you have more than one case, make sure that a proof of service form is filled out for each case. Once your proof of service forms are completed and signed, you are ready to move on to Chapter 14, filing your original paperwork with the court. Chapter 14, filing your original paperwork with the court. In this chapter, you will learn how to file your original paperwork with the court. After service has been completed, or in other words, after the envelopes have been mailed and the proof of service has been completed and signed, you need to file your original paperwork with the court. You need to file your original petition, including any attachments, original proposed order, and original proof of service with the court. Remember that you should have one set of original forms for each case. You may file the original paperwork in person at the courthouse, or you may file electronically. To learn more about electronic filing, you can visit www.mncourts.gov/fileacase. You must file these documents as soon as possible after service is complete. If you do not file your original documents, your case may be dismissed. There may be a filing fee for your expungement paperwork. It depends on whether or not the case was resolved in your favor. To find out if a fee is required, and if so, how much, contact the court in the county where your case happened. Keep in mind that filing fees vary a little from county to county. If you have cases in more than one county, the expungement fee may not be the same for each case. You should also be aware that the filing fee is per case. If you have more than one case, you may have more than one fee. If your case requires a fee and you have a low income, you are on public assistance, or you otherwise cannot afford to pay a filing fee, you can ask for a fee waiver. If you ask for a fee waiver, a judge will decide if all or a part of your fee can be waived. If the fee for a case is not waived, you would have to pay the fee to move forward with the case. You can find information about fee waivers on the Minnesota Judicial Branch website at the link listed on the screen, or by contacting the court in the county where your case happened. You have now completed, served, and filed your paperwork. There is nothing left to do except appear for your hearing if an appearance is required. In Chapter 15, you'll learn what to expect before the hearing. Chapter 15. What if an agency objects? In this chapter, you will learn what happens if an agency objects to your request for expungement. Before the date of your expungement hearing, the agencies that you mailed your paperwork to may write the court stating their legal position on your expungement request. The agencies may tell the court they object, or, in other words, disagree with your expungement request. They may say they do not object to your request, or they may not take any position regarding your request. If they object, they will explain the reasons that they disagree with your request. A copy of any paperwork sent to the court must also be sent to you. If you receive a letter or other paperwork from an agency, read it carefully and think of what you can say in response. At the hearing, you can ask the judge to allow you to respond to any objections from the agencies. If you have questions about what you receive from an agency or how to respond, you should get legal advice from an attorney. In the next chapter, you'll learn about what to expect at your hearing. Chapter 16. Your Hearing Day. In this chapter, you will learn what happens on your hearing day. This is the final chapter in the series. You must go to the court hearing unless the court tells you that you do not need to attend. Remember that some cases do not require an appearance. Be sure to ask the court whether or not an appearance is required. Make sure to arrive at the courthouse early so you have enough time to find parking, go through weapons screening, and find the correct courtroom. If you are late, your hearing may be canceled or your case may be dismissed. Make sure to check in with the clerk in the courtroom if necessary. If you are not sure if you need to check in, ask court staff. When you are in the courtroom, listen for your case to be called. There may be other cases scheduled for a hearing at the same time. When your case is called, follow the directions of the judge or the clerk. If you prepared any outline or notes, you can have them with you. The judge may ask you questions about your case, so be prepared to respond. Some of the parties that you served may also appear at your hearing. The judge may allow those parties to discuss their position on your expungement. Be prepared to listen to this at the hearing. The judge may tell you of their decision at the hearing, or, more likely, the judge may tell you that they are taking the matter under advisement, and that you will receive a written decision called an order in the mail. Taking the matter under advisement means that the judge is going to review the information and take some time to think about the case and then put their decision in writing. Be aware that if the case is taken under advisement, the judge has up to 90 days to issue their decision, but it may not take that long. If the judge grants your expungement petition, any records ordered to be sealed will not be sealed until 60 days after the date listed on the judge's order. This is because the case is held open for either party to file an appeal. Be aware that the judge could order all records sealed, including records from other agencies, or order only court records to be sealed. The judge could also deny your request. If the order only seals court records, employers and others may still find out about the offense by looking at the records of the other agencies, such as the BCA. Make sure to read your order carefully so you know exactly what it covers. If your request is denied, get legal advice. There are time limitations on when you have to appeal, so it is a good idea to seek advice as soon as possible. If you have more questions about criminal expungement that were not covered in this video, or for more information on any other court-related matter, contact the statewide Self-Help Center. Call us at the number on the screen or visit our website to submit a question by email.